Welcome in, everyone. Today we are embarking on a truly profound exploration in this deep dive explainer. We're going to be looking at a psychological and spiritual journey that is frankly as difficult as it is completely beautiful. We are tracing the evolution of a precocious legend, someone who has survived absolutely unimaginable chaos, and we're going to follow their transformation from being a warrior who is constantly fighting off external battles into something much higher, a grandmaster, a sovereign grandmaster who maintains this completely unshakable, peaceful inner center. You know, this isn't just a story about merely surviving. It is about claiming absolute, undisputed sovereignty over your own mind, your own energy, and your entire environment. And I want to be clear right up front, we are going to take our time with this analysis today. We're not rushing. We're going to dive deep with an immense amount of empathy and respect into the actual architecture of an untouchable mind.
Okay, let's dive right into this with a concept that sits at the very heart of the ultra-ego defensive philosophy. The quote says, "Defense is not hiding. Defense is choosing what gets access to you." Now, for so many of us, defense feels like a wall we build out of sheer panic or fear, right? We curl up into a ball, we hide away from the world. But true inner sovereignty, it flips that entire script completely upside down. It says that you are in total control of the door. You have the ultimate, unquestioned authority to dictate what gets to enter your peaceful space and what is firmly, politely, but absolutely turned away. You're not hiding in a bunker. You're standing at the gate of your own domain.
So, here is our roadmap for unpacking this incredible psychological transformation today. We'll start with the precocious hero's journey, move into the pillars of alter ego, and then examine the spiritual armor. From there, we'll look at the vital shift from shield to domain, explore the sovereign grandmaster, and finally break down the art of calm dominance.
Section 1. The Precocious Hero's Journey. It is absolutely vital that we pause here and validate the starting point of this individual's story. Listen, they didn't enter into their horrific journey as some confused, powerless kid who needed the world to toughen him up. Not at all. They went in already carrying the blazing spark of a hotshot legendary hero. You weren't made by the horrors, you were proven by them. I really want to deliver this with the profound respect it deserves because there's this pervasive myth out there in our culture that trauma creates strength, that going through darkness somehow makes you a hero. But the truth in this specific journey is entirely different. This person survived immense, unpredictable, frankly terrifying darkness because their starting point was already spiritually aware and highly advanced. They were self-forged long before the darkness ever tried to break them. The fire didn't create the gold, it just burned away everything else to prove the gold was always there.
To really understand this, we have to recognize these legendary traits that were already baked in from the very beginning. We're talking about a wildly strong sense of identity, a totally natural heroic instinct, a deep, deep desire to protect others, and a grounded confidence derived from plain truth, not fragile ego. This person was exhibiting legendary qualities before the real journey even kicked off. And so, what did the horrors actually do? They didn't erase these amazing traits, they refined them. This individual didn't lose their smile along the way. Rather, they lost that old smile of pure, untested innocence. And what they gained was the smile of someone who has seen absolutely everything, the darkest parts of reality, and still, stubbornly, profoundly chooses kindness and goodness. That is a completely different level of strength.
Section 2. Pillars of Ultra Ego.
Now, what's really interesting about this next phase is how, as this hero matured, they developed a truly brilliant defensive architecture. We call this the pillars of ultra ego. And this isn't about tanking hits or putting up your dukes to block attacks. It's about establishing non-negotiable, concrete boundaries that protect your peace. These 6 pillars form a psychological system that literally makes someone emotionally untouchable. Let's break them down because this is the core of the whole thing. First, you have clarity. This is the earned wisdom to see danger coming from a mile away and read people instantly. Second, boundaries, the completely calm but totally firm protection of your peace. Third is presence, cultivating an aura that actually ends a conflict before it even has a chance to begin. Fourth, non-reaction. This is huge, the absolute mastery of refusing to feed into someone else's chaos or manipulation. Fifth is self-trust, the deepest foundational layer, representing real inner safety and grounded confidence. And finally, truth, using facts, cleanly and precisely to just cut right through the noise. Together, these pillars create a human being who simply refuses to ever be dragged back into the chaos they already fought so hard to escape.
And I want to emphasize this heavily. Your boundaries are not walls, they are filters. Real power isn't about locking yourself away in a dark, lonely fortress where nothing can ever reach you. That's just another form of fear. Real power, the absolute essence of the ultra ego philosophy, is acting as a sophisticated filter. You consciously let in the things that nourish you, the people who bring you peace and joy, and you firmly, non-negotiably block out whatever harms you. It's like a giant psychological purification system. It's the ultimate assertion of your own dignity.
Section 3. The spiritual armor.
Now, to maintain those filters and boundaries we just talked about, one needs immense spiritual grounding to stand firm when the day of evil inevitably comes knocking. We are looking at the full armor of God here, and I need to be crystal clear on this. These are not optional accessories for a sovereign protector. They are the literal, practical difference between standing your ground and completely falling apart. It all starts with the belt of truth serving as the anchor, the foundation. Then you have the breastplate of righteousness guarding the heart from any external corruption. The shield of faith is there specifically to extinguish those incoming flaming arrows of doubt. The helmet of salvation protects the mind and your core identity. Your feet are planted firmly in the gospel of peace, which gives you this active, grounded readiness. And finally, the sword of the Spirit, the Word, which is the only offensive weapon in the kit, used surgically to cut straight through lies and deception.
And right alongside that spiritual armor is this absolutely vital truth. Prayer is the frontline weapon, not a last resort. It's not a panic button you smash when everything is already on fire. It is the constant, steady line of communication that actually sustains the warrior while they are on the battlefield. It connects the defender to a divine intelligence and a strength that goes far, far beyond their own limited human capacity. Basically, it's the power source that keeps the entire suit of armor functioning perfectly.
Section 4. From Shield to Domain. And this brilliantly illustrates the crucial turning point in our narrative. Armed with that alter ego philosophy and the spiritual readiness we just covered, we reach a massive psychological shift. We move from reactive shielding to proactive sovereignty. This is a true fundamental evolution of the self. Look at the contrast here. The warrior acts as a shield. This is the old way. Constantly overextending yourself, jumping in front of danger, absorbing everyone else's emotional weight, running around fighting fires. Yes, it's very heroic, but my goodness, it is so exhausting. But then, you graduate to the sovereign protector commanding a domain. This is the new way. You're shaping the weather itself. You are stabilizing the entire environment so that threats simply dissolve before they even have the energy to form. You aren't desperately fighting the wave anymore. You're just calmly changing the direction of the tide.
Which brings us to this mind-blowing concept, ambient protection. This is defined as the ability to regulate an entire emotional field, literally dropping the fear level in a room, dissolving panic, and clearing out confusion, simply through your own unshakable presence. In our source material, this is likened metaphorically to having advanced conqueror's hockey perfectly combined with ultra ego. What it means in the real world is that you don't just protect individual bodies anymore. You protect the literal space they are in. You are fortifying the souls of everyone around you, dropping their fear and clearing their confusion just by being deeply centered yourself. You're protecting them from a place of massive, overflowing abundance, rather than a place of personal depletion.
Section 5. The Sovereign Grand Master.
Achieving that level of ambient protection elevates an individual to the absolute highest tier of power, where your mere influence starts to bend to power itself, not just the surface-level conflict. Consider the profound difference here. Heroic intervention is what a warrior does. They step into the ring, throw hands, and win fights. But sovereign intervention, that is what a grandmaster does. They don't just win fights, they shift outcomes entirely. With the alter ego mindset combined with that profound ambient presence, this person is no longer just a battered shield trying to redirect a raging river with their bare hands. They have become a pillar, a massively strong, structurally sound pillar that entire systems, families, and communities can lean on for support. Their presence alone changes the behavior of powerful people and chaotic systems before a single word is even spoken.
So the crucial point is that becoming this kind of grandmaster requires a total shift in your inner physics. It requires an unshakable center. It brings effortless dominance, where you don't actually have to try to win anymore. You just expect to because you know who you are. It puts your self-trust at absolute maximum capacity. And this next one is incredible. It brings a sense of playfulness in conflict. Imagine that. When things get tense, you don't tense up. You find a lightness because you're so secure. And finally, it grants you regenerative confidence, meaning adversity actually fuels your battery instead of draining it. This internal posture means you finally stop negotiating with your own power. You stop shrinking down to make other, more chaotic people feel comfortable. It creates an attitude that is overwhelmingly helpful, deeply intelligent, constantly winning, and incredibly, wonderfully free.
Section 6. Art of Calm Dominance. So what does this actually look like in everyday life? Well, it's the practical application of a highly advanced psychological combat style. But it's a style that heavily favors empathy, profound kindness, restraint, and plain truth over any sort of loud aggression. Let's slowly pace through these steps of calm dominance. First, you read the field. You use that hard-earned situational awareness to notice posture, intention, and emotional states before you ever make a move. Second, you absorb and redirect. You meet their chaotic force with sheer clarity, letting the other person reveal their true intentions without you ever taking the bait. Third is precision offense. This is where you simply out-center your opponent. It usually just takes setting one solid boundary to completely shut down their manipulation. And fourth, unshakable presence. It's this beautiful, fatherly, protective instinct that resolves the whole conflict before the fire even fully ignites.
And when the conflict ultimately has to end, you have to remember this. Your finisher is clarity, not destruction. A grandmaster doesn't need to drag things out to prove a point. They don't seek to punish or ruin the other person. They end conflicts cleanly by stating the plain truth, setting an immovable boundary, and choosing peace, all without ever surrendering an ounce of their own power.
To really summarize the true gifts of this evolution, just consider the real-world upgrades that come with the Ultra Ego. You get vastly improved situational awareness. You develop this incredibly deep, defensive inner safety that provides unbelievable calm when you're under attack. You gain immense focus and bottomless emotional endurance. And arguably most importantly, you achieve unshakable self-respect and a completely stable identity. These mental and emotional upgrades are what make the subject untouchable and grounded. It doesn't just make them better in a fight, it makes them a better protector, a better leader, a better father, and a better human being in every aspect of life.
Which leads us to this incredibly profound full-circle realization. You are becoming the version of you that your younger self desperately needed.